Dolphin on board. Maybe all is clear?
All not, but at time we are continue the race when it counts, and at time it's okay.
Okay. Pip, all is good?
Everything is good, yeah.
Okay, cool. Everything?
Bureau Valet with a quick update as to what's been happening with them. And you might have missed it in that clip, but at the end they had their storm jib up. And there's a very good reason for that. We're going to be coming to that later on in the show, as well as taking a look at everything that's been happening over the last 24 hours and also taking a look ahead at the weather for the final 24 hours as we wrap up leg 2 in the Ocean Race Europe. Now, if you have not been with us so far on leg 2, then this is some of the stuff that you will have missed. Certainly the last 24 hours have been incredibly tough on the sailors sailing through the Strait of Gibraltar. Some of the teams have been reporting winds of over 40 knots, and with the traffic separation scheme in the middle, it meant a lot of this. A lot of short tacking, trying to keep yourself out of danger and in the best of the conditions. You also had to think pretty carefully about where you were going to be positioning yourself. Most of the fleet down to the south, but AkzoNobel Ocean Racing up to the north, trying to outmaneuver the others.
We've still got this big split in the fleet, and it's pretty much neck and neck at the moment as to which way is going to pay. It's pretty close, and with this big wind, it's been a bit tricky to work out which one's best route, but hopefully our one's working, and we're going to find out in about 20 or 30 minutes or so when we join the fleet again. And
Why did you go north?
we preferred the look of the current. You get the current change to be coming with us. You know, we're hoping that's going to kind of shoot us up towards the east a bit quicker than those in the south. So
You're nervous about the choice?
yeah, you know, splitting away from the whole fleet is always a big risk, and you know, we didn't really expect to do it at that point, but you know, we were happy with the choice to the north, and thought why not just give it a go, and yeah, we'll see how it works out.
Will Harris on board AkzoNobel Ocean Racing, feeling somewhat confident about the decisions that he's made as navigator on board that boat. And the other team that he was really keeping his eye on was this one, Merpuri Foundation Racing Team. They were to the south, but what Will Harris and the rest of the crew wouldn't have known was what problems this boat were having on board, sailing really nicely in the conditions, but something was affecting their speed.
We saw a big black plastic pipe, effectively, flexible pipe, which turned out to be about 60 metres long, and we managed to hook it right in the middle on the keel. So we tried to back down this morning around 4 o'clock and thought we'd cleared the problem. And then when it got light, we actually got the endoscope out and had a look at the keel, and all it had done, it sunk and was right at the bottom of the keel, just above the bulb. So we just had another go at backing down and managed to clear it. Bit of a pain. And quite strange, as it wasn't affecting our boat speed that much. Because it was the biggest thing I've ever seen wrapped around the keel. But it's off now and we can get racing again.
Unfortunately, it wasn't just Merpuri Foundation Racing Team that was finding rubbish to slow them down. This was a picture from Childhood One, having their own chance to see just how polluted some of the waters could be. And if it wasn't rubbish running into the boat, it was some problems on board. In fact, the Austrian Ocean Race Project had a problem with their J2.
I've got the clue on me.
We had a small damage to the J2. So we had to swap seals, which made pretty quickly and easy. Now we're just struggling a little bit with the boat speed, since we have a not ideal setup, but we're still pushing, and I think we're not far off from the performance. So.
Still alive. Yeah, at least it's nice and warm. It's a bit rough, but we'll manage. We'll get there. So.
Meanwhile, behind all that drama was 11th Hour Racing Team. This was the boat that had started behind the others after the restart with a 75 nautical mile deficit, and while charging down the Spanish coast and then through the Bay of Cadiz as the rest of the teams wrestled with the breeze in the Strait of Gibraltar, they've been able to cut that deficit to half. A very strong start.
Pascal just woke up, not really awake yet, but it's gonna come. Small coffee, Charlie making the boat go fast.
Having a little look Africa behind us. Another whole continent in this crazy round Europe race. Yeah, we're in the midst of all the Gibraltar fun. Certainly in all the Gibraltar wind, although we've yet to get into the actual strait, so we're just on the corner here. And yeah, the next 20-30 miles or so will be us tacking up the strait. A little bit of a decision to make whether we go north of the TSS or south. We've seen the fleet kind of do both, and yeah, because we're behind, we can kind of use them to feel our way out. But no, all good. It's been a good day. It's been away, slowly catching up.
While 11th Hour Racing Team were charging up from the back, the rest of the fleet were playing out the Strait of Gibraltar with an awful lot of manoeuvres. In the lead, it was Sailing Poland for the VO65s and Linked Out for the Imoca 60s. Merpuri Foundation Racing Team was to the south, and then Axonobel Ocean Racing came in from the north and narrowly crossed the Portuguese team. Behind them, it was Childhood 1, and then Amber Sail 2, and the Austrian Ocean Race Project and Viva Mexico, bringing up the back of the VO65s. In the Imoca 60s, who were holding on very well in the strong breeze upwind, Corum, an offshore Team Germany, and Linked Out were all pushing for first place. But as the fleet started to exit the Strait of Gibraltar, the wind died and the speeds plummeted. Really light wind sailing, allowing 11th Hour Racing to chase up, and Bureau Valley to bring us a little update as to what happened earlier.
So this here is Gibraltar. We've just come through the Gibraltar Straits. We've had a pretty wild time of it. Yesterday was the most incredible downwind ride. Amazing, just absolutely amazing. The racing was so close. We were just crossing boats all the time, crossing jives, doing like 25, 28 knots, which was amazing. And then we came down towards the Straits of Gibraltar and the wind headed us, so we ended up tacking right in towards the Moroccan coast. We were doing really well, great boat speed, and then the tack line on the J3 broke. So just look behind me, see there, that big drum thing. So that basically broke free and was flailing around in the air. At the time it was very, very windy. It was about 35 knots, and it smashed the mainsail, made a hole in the mainsail, and we had quite a job to get it down. And so when it was windy coming in through the Straits of Gibraltar, we had to go with 3 reefs and a storm jib, which was quite slow. But we've just done some repairs. Don't know if you can see up on the sail there, just there. We made a repair to the mainsail, and it's lighter wind, so we've got the J2 up now. We're getting going, but there's still a bit more tidying up to do.
So a chance for Bureau Valley to assess the damage, and indeed for all of the fleet. For Corum, nothing wrong on their boat, but certainly a chance to take a breath and relax and reflect on what had been an incredible 24 hours.
Un beau passage, bravo.
Ça veut dire quoi un beau passage?
Ça veut dire quoi beau passage? Ça veut dire sans encombre, parce que c'était pas si simple. Entre la côte d'un côté et le DST de l'autre côté, il fallait pas se rater avec une petite moyenne 30-33 nœuds. Et voilà. Et après on a fait des belles manœuvres pour envoyer la toile.
On a aussi tartiné le long des côtes marocaines. Là on est revenu, on s'est refait la cerise. Hein.
Exactement.
So today we passed Gibraltar in 35 knots of wind, and a couple of hours later we're here. There's no wind at all for a couple of hours, and everyone is just drifting around basically. So hopefully soon the wind will pick up from the northeast, we expect it, and then yeah, we head straight to Alicante.
We're drifting around in the lovely Met, thinking if we want to go left or right. At the moment trying hard to get any speed in the boat. We just have to be patient.
It's sometimes completely crazy. You do all this tacking with 35 plus in Gibraltar to gain 0 point something mile, and then at the end you're all floating in the Met within a mile of each other. Different world, different sea. Now we just have to find a way through it.
It was actually quite a tough day for sailing Poland, because we ran out of breeze yesterday first after being leading for the Strait of Gibraltar. We always knew that was going to happen, and then the thing what was happening that Axo, Mipuri and ourselves were within half a mile of each other. Axo got first the breeze, then Mipuri and us last, and all of a sudden, like being together, we are like 4 or 5 miles behind.
After the light winds, the breeze returned, and it wasn't really from a very good angle. An easterly breeze meant that the boats had to choose between sailing towards the coast and light winds or going south where the best of the breeze were. In the lead, it was AkzoNobel Ocean Racing, and then just to their south, Merpuri Foundation Racing, with Sailing Poland to the north, ready to pounce if either of those teams made any mistakes. In the Imoca 60s, Linked Out were leading, with Corum behind, and followed by Buer-Valet and 11th Hour Racing. Offshore Team Germany had found another light wind pocket to slow down, and they also had another set of problems.
Our starboard dagger board got slammed into the back of the fairing, so we have some minor damage to the trailing edge of the dagger board, but I think we can repair that once we are in Alicante.
So while Offshore Team Germany waited for the wind that was there for everybody else, the front of the fleet was seeing an incredible battle with Merpuri Foundation Racing Team and AkzoNobel Ocean Racing Team really locking horns. This was the scene as the sun came up, as the boats started to make their way back in towards the coast. And Merpuri Foundation Team were getting the calories in for what was going to be a very tight battle.
Since we started eating dry mango, we are a little bit faster, so keep beating it. Now we're heading to the next headland. Just in front of us there is a TSS that we need to leave to starboard. Being close to Axo on that point is a good point, and then hopefully we can pass them with our maneuvers and teamwork. I like that. Nice one. Faster, same heading. They're gonna hoist the J3 very soon.
Now, if you've been following our daily fixes, you might have picked up on something he said there. We did an episode where we mentioned about the AIS system, a sort of, think of it as a radar system that allows you to kind of spy on your rivals, or at least give you their heading and their speed. There's a little moment there where the navigator fed up the information to Bernardo Freitas on the deck, who then passed it back to the helm. And what he was saying was, we were the same heading, and we are faster. And that's just about the best news that you can have on a boat. You're going in the same direction as your rival, which means they're not going to gain any weather advantage by sailing into a gust that you're not going to get. And even though you're going in exactly the same direction as them, you're going faster. It's that kind of attention to detail that they'll keep going. The next thing that Bernardo said was, we're going to peel to another sail. We're going to get the J3 out in a minute. And as those winds are transitioning and getting stronger and lighter and lighter and stronger, these are the kind of scenes on board. Moving the stack, keeping things in the right position, and getting those sails in and out. Constant work. And all of this after that 24-hour bashing from the downwind from the start and then the Strait of Gibraltar. And this is why, because they're faced with a real challenge in the breeze. The final push to Alicante is going to be very difficult to read. Typically in the Med, when it gets dark, you're going to get cooler air and you're going to get lighter winds next to the shore. So you go offshore to stay in the stronger breeze. Well, going offshore means that you're going to be sailing more miles. So the big challenge is when do you cut back in? If you cut back in too soon, you're going to go into the light winds. You stay out too long, you're going to sail more miles, and then you're going to let your rival take the lead. That final tactical battle is going to be incredibly important. So let's take a look at the positions where they stand at the moment before that last push. Bringing up the rear at the moment is offshore Team Germany, having finally got themselves out of that light wind bubble. Ahead of them in the Imoca 60s is 11th Hour Racing Team back in the game, with Bureau Valley and Corum just ahead of them. Then the leader in the Imoca 60s linked out with Amber Sail 2, Austria Ocean Race Project and Viva Mexico bringing up the back of the 65s. Then in fourth place, Childhood 1, and in third, it's Sailing Poland. And then out in the lead, by a bit of a healthy margin, we have the two teams who are waiting to see who blinks first and tacks inshore. Axonabel Ocean Racing and Merpuri Foundation Racing Team. The latest ETA for the finish is 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for the leaders, with the rest of the boats finishing a few hours after that. Keep yourself glued to the tracker and you'll be able to see who goes inshore to try and keep the miles down, or who's brave enough to go offshore to stay in the breeze and then have to face the real decision about when you cut back in. We're going to be bringing you all the news as they get closer to the finish line, where we're going to find out who will take maximum points at the end of leg 2. And in the meantime, we're going to leave you with everything we just could not fit in today.